In early 2025, U.S.-Canada relations faced a new challenge when former President Donald Trump criticized a proposed toll by British Columbia on U.S. trucks heading to Alaska. This toll, which was seen as a significant financial burden on American truckers, sparked immediate controversy. Trump labeled the toll as unfriendly and a direct attack on U.S.-Canada relations, escalating trade tensions. His comments were not just off-the-cuff remarks. They were part of a broader narrative that he had been pushing about protecting American interests. He called for immediate negotiations, suggesting the toll was a deliberate provocation against American interests. Trump's demand for talks was met with mixed reactions, with some seeing it as a necessary step to protect U.S. economic interests, while others viewed it as an overreaction. This outburst forced both governments to address the implications of this escalating dispute. The U.S. government, under pressure from various trucking associations and trade groups, had to take a firm stance. The situation highlighted underlying tensions in the historically amicable relationship between the two nations. While the U.S. and Canada have long been allies, this incident brought to the surface issues that had been simmering for years. Analysts are now questioning if this incident marks a shift towards more confrontational interactions. The debate has extended beyond just the toll, touching on broader issues of trade policy and national sovereignty. The toll proposal is seen as a response to U.S. tariffs on Canadian goods, reflecting Canada's efforts to assert economic autonomy. This move by British Columbia is part of a larger strategy to push back against what they perceive as unfair trade practices by the U.S. British Columbia's toll is not isolated. It's a reaction to perceived aggressive American trade tactics. The province has argued that the toll is necessary to fund infrastructure improvements and to ensure that American trucks contribute to the maintenance of the roads they use. Understanding this context is crucial to grasping the broader implications for U.S.-Canada trade and diplomacy. The toll issue is just one piece of a much larger puzzle that includes various trade agreements, tariffs, and economic policies that both countries have implemented over the years. The path forward remains uncertain, with both sides entrenched in their positions. As negotiations continue, the world watches closely, aware that the outcome could set a precedent for future U.S.-Canada relations and potentially impact global trade dynamics. In March 2025, British Columbia announced plans to impose tolls on U.S. commercial trucks traveling to Alaska. This decision came after months of deliberation and was seen as a significant policy shift. The tolls specifically target U.S. commercial trucks that use the Alaska Highway, a crucial route for transporting goods between the contiguous United States and Alaska. This move signaled BC's readiness to protect its interests against U.S. trade pressures. The tolls are not just about revenue, they are a strategic response to ongoing trade tensions. The legislation allows BC to levy fees on commercial vehicles, providing the province with a tool to counteract economic measures imposed by the U.S. serving as a retaliatory measure rather than an immediate revenue source. The tolls are designed to send a clear message to the U.S. administration. The Alaska Highway, a vital corridor for U.S. trucking companies, is the primary route affected. This highway is essential for the movement of goods, making the tolls a significant factor in trade logistics. The tolls are seen as a direct response to Trump's threats of tariffs on Canadian goods. The former U.S. president's aggressive trade policies have led to a series of retaliatory measures from Canada. The Canadian province is signaling its refusal to accept what it views as unfair trade practices. By imposing these tolls, BC is taking a stand against what it perceives as economic bullying. The toll is a defensive measure, asserting Canada's economic sovereignty in an unpredictable trade environment. It underscores the importance of maintaining a balanced and fair trade relationship between the two neighboring countries. Premier David Eby of British Columbia described the toll as a necessary response to threats from the Trump administration. The goal is to protect Canadian economic interests from U.S. tariffs. Eby accused Trump of trying to weaken Canada economically, suggesting ambitions to annex Canada. The toll legislation is a bulwark against perceived encroachments on Canadian autonomy. This move is seen as a broader assertion of Canadian economic sovereignty. The toll is a strategic tool, not a revenue grab, designed to send a clear signal to the U.S. By preparing the legislation but not implementing it immediately. BC maintains flexibility and room for negotiation. British Columbia's tolls are expected to impact Alaska significantly, increasing costs for trucking companies. These costs will likely be passed on to Alaskan businesses and consumers, raising prices for goods. The tolls could disrupt the supply chain, affecting local commerce and industrial projects. While most goods enter Alaska by sea and air, the trucking route remains crucial for certain cargo. The tolls could lead to a reassessment of investment and operational strategies for businesses reliant on cross-border transit. Long-term businesses may seek alternative transport methods, representing a costly adjustment for Alaska's economy. The toll dispute extends beyond Alaska, affecting the broader U.S. Canada trade relationship. Disruptions in supply chains are a concern for businesses on both sides of the border. The U.S. and Canada share a significant trading partnership, and any new impediment can introduce inefficiencies. The tension arises amid recent U.S. protectionist measures, including tariffs on Canadian goods. These tariffs have created an environment of distrust and retaliation, prompting actions like BC's toll proposal. Beyond freight, increased travel costs could impact tourism, affecting local economies dependent on cross-border visitors. Political reactions to BC's toll announcement have been swift and varied, reflecting the complex nature of international trade relations. U.S. President Donald Trump expressed his frustration in a fiery speech, calling the toll unfair and detrimental to American businesses. On the other side of the border, Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau has voiced strong support for BC's decision, emphasizing the need to protect Canadian interests and ensure fair trade practices. Trudeau's backing signals a unified Canadian front in addressing trade disputes with the U.S., showcasing a rare moment of political solidarity. Premier David Eby has also defended the toll as a necessary measure to protect local industries and jobs, with federal support underscoring its legitimacy and importance in the broader economic strategy. In the U.S., reactions are mixed, with some politicians condemning Trump's comments as overly aggressive and counterproductive. These officials argue that maintaining stable relations with Canada is crucial for both countries' economic health. They emphasize the importance of diplomacy and negotiation in resolving such disputes. However, others echo Trump's call for tougher negotiations, viewing the toll as an unfair barrier to American commerce. They argue that the toll could have significant negative impacts on cross-border trade and the economy. This division highlights the differing perspectives on trade policy and the challenges in finding a mutually agreeable solution. As both nations navigate these tensions, the focus remains on balancing national interests with the need for cooperative international relations. Public opinion on the trade tensions is divided in both Canada and the U.S. In Canada, some support BC's tolls as a stand against unfair U.S. tariffs, while others worry about economic repercussions. Concerns are particularly acute among those dependent on cross-border trade. In the U.S., opinions vary, with some supporting Trump's stance and others criticizing the tariffs that provoked Canada's response. The division reflects the complex balance between national pride and economic stability. Trade disputes between the U.S. and Canada are not new, with past issues like softwood lumber and dairy products. The current situation is distinct due to BC's targeted toll on Alaska-bound commerce. This novel approach by a Canadian province adds a new layer to traditional trade dispute mechanisms. Past experiences offer lessons in de-escalation, but the current dispute's intensity requires novel diplomatic approaches. The toll dispute highlights the fragile state of U.S.-Canada relations, once a model of cooperation. Despite tensions, there's an opportunity for diplomatic talks to resolve the impasse. Both sides must approach negotiations with a willingness to find common ground. A lasting solution requires addressing underlying trade disputes and strengthening dispute resolution mechanisms. Restoring trust and predictability is paramount for a stable U.S.-Canada relationship. The current challenge presents an opportunity to rebuild and reinforce this vital partnership.